Hey y'all, it's me, Cheryl360, and I'm filming from my closet because it is the quietest place for me to film and I don't want to talk super loud. Also, it's a lot more airy and empty in some of the other rooms, so this is the best place for me to film. And I'm sorry I'm not doing this on live stream, but the Wi-Fi at home is super duper bad. I hate it, and it just wouldn't even give me the option. Like, I opened YouTube and I did the little plus sign for going live, and it immediately went to my gallery because, like, no girl, you can't go live because you don't have the capacity. So here we are. But anyway, I told you guys I'd be back tonight to talk about BL. I am here talking about BL, so I'm keeping at least one of my promises from earlier today. But I want to talk about the BL I've been watching during my break. So I quit my job, and the first thing I did was sleep. I did a lot of sleeping, and then I had some family come in from out of town, spent time with them, and then I went to go visit Mason, which was a blast. I did a ton of driving, which I love to drive. It is my secret passion. It is the thing that brings me the most joy out of all the things I do, because it's a combination of two of my favorite things: travel and music. Whenever I'm driving, I turn on the music. I try to drive for at least an hour if I can get in the time, and I like to see the scenery along the way. And so, yeah, it was a great time. But after that, I was like, well, let's catch up on some things we haven't done. And one of the things I decided to do was catch up on watching BLs. So I've watched several things, haven't finished many things, and I'll explain. So back when I first started watching BLs, I used to watch a lot of kind of teenagery type of BLs, Love by Chance, SOTUS, you get the drift. I watched a lot of GMM TV BLs, and then slowly but surely, as the availability became something I could find, I started to really branch out in terms of the type of boys love shows I was watching. So we went from SOTUS and Love by Chance to doing the History series, to doing I Promise You the Moon, and a lot of other shows. And if you aren't familiar with why I'm saying we, it's because Mason and I used to have a vlog about boys love on his channel. So if you go to his channel, we have like a year's worth of videos there if you want to go back and take a look see. But yeah, when we were doing the vlog, we watched a ton of shows. We watched so many shows. And so as I've been exposed to different kinds of BL, I've also been kind of like more, I would say, discerning and maybe less patient when it comes to BL, because honestly, some of the stuff out here is fucking trash. And I'm not saying that to be rude to anybody. I just really mean it. Like, it's fucking trash. So I'm going to tell you about the stuff that I gave up on, and then I'm going to tell you about the stuff I loved and continue to watch, and some stuff I'm giving a chance that I'm not exactly sure. So let's start with the first thing I just gave up on before the episode was even over. There is a new show on GMM TV called The Intern. It features Off Gun. Off being one actor and Gun being the other. Now, I've watched a lot of Off Gun. I really have. I watched Off Gun for what's it called? It's like Sweet Honeysuckle Love, something like that. Anyway, it was the first Off Gun project. I watched them in Theory of Love. I've watched them on Our Sky. I've watched them do a lot of stuff together. And, you know, I think Gunn is a good actor. Off has gotten better. I think we need to give him credit for where credit is due. But I also tried to catch up on an Off Gun series I hadn't watched. There's a show called Not Me. And I got to episode 8. And I just couldn't stand it. I tried so hard to watch Not Me, because I know a lot of people in the boys love community fucking love that show. Like, that show is one of the most highly rated GMM TV shows in terms of like people saying whether or not the show's any good. And it's probably one of the highest rated Off Gun projects that they've done in recent years. And so I was really excited to catch up with it. But I will tell you why I gave up after episode 8. I gave up because, number one, the second couple was making no sense to me. Like, it was literally insta-love for them. And then, like, I don't know, there was this weird scene where the one cop from the second couple gets naked so that the other guy can draw him, and then he starts crying out of nowhere. That was weird. Also, he's a cop and he literally watched somebody burn someone else's house down, didn't turn him in. That was strange. Also, the main couple, as many shows as Afghan have done together, and they've done a ton of shows together because they have a variety show together, there was no chemistry to me between the leads. Like, when they kissed in the last episode that I saw, I didn't get where that kiss came from. I did not see it. I tried to understand it, but they were so on the aggressive side of cat and mouse that it didn't make any sense when the cat and mouse turned into like kissing and hugging. I just didn't get it. I didn't want to continue with a show where I didn't get it. And then they had this weird situation with the friend who might have had a crush on Gunn's character, but also might have had a crush on Gunn's ex-girlfriend. Like, it wasn't doing it for me, so I had to give it up. So when I went into The Intern, when it premiered, I'm like, okay, let's start fresh. This seems like this is more of a rom-com rather than like a serious drama type of thing. I think it's going to be fine. Let's go ahead and watch The Intern. I hated it. I hated I hated Gunn's character. Off didn't really say or do much of anything. I didn't like the side characters. I didn't like the writing. I didn't like the camera work. I didn't like the sets. I didn't like the misunderstanding that led to Gunn getting the job at the production house. Like, none of it was good to me on the very first episode. And I know that you can't always judge a show by the first episode. I know that sometimes it takes a while to get its groove. Prime example, My School President. The first episode of My School President, I was like, I don't think I can do this. And somebody else was like, hey, watch to episode 4. I promise you, by the time you get to episode 4, it will hook you. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and hang in there. And yeah, My School President, it really panned out. There was a lot of chemistry between Gemini and Fourth. And so I really appreciated that. But this episode 1, and then they showed like the preview of the rest of the season, I was just like, no. I don't want to watch this. I really, really don't want to watch this. See, I told you the house is noisy. You can hear the grandfather clock going off. Anyway, so I dropped that. Another show that I dropped, and I think I've talked about it on my channel, but I don't think I talked about me dropping it, was Last Twilight, another DMM TV show. This show I tried to watch. I think I watched maybe 6 episodes of it before I dropped it. It's this guy who is like, his sister died, his parents are dead. He has been in and out of jail. He needs money to save his sister's car because that's the last thing he has left of her. And so he gets a job being like the assistant or minder of a guy who's going blind. And they start to slowly fall in love. I didn't like it. I didn't like one of the lead characters' faces, which I hate saying that because it sounds so wrong. But the one main character who's kind of like the bad boy type, I didn't like his face. I really, really didn't. And I can't even explain to you why. I just really didn't like his face at all. And also, I didn't feel the chemistry, and I thought the show was lame. Like, at one point, the one main character, in order to understand the other character who's losing his sight, he decides to like go into an open market with a blindfold and a guiding stick and just starts moving. And it's just like, I understand that you feel like the best way for you to understand them is to go through what they go through in life, but like, don't inconvenience the people at the market with you trying to play games. Like, do that shit at home where you can just break your own shit if you bump into it. But that's a small nitpick, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the way they were setting it up to be. And also, I started watching Last Twilight before the show was over, and I found out through spoilers from the internet, because the internet will always spoil, that apparently the character who's losing his sight basically gets his sight back at the end of the show. And everybody was like, oh, Last Twilight is so good because it's, you know, talking about love for people with disabilities and how wonderful is that, and how they can have a normal life just like anybody else, and it's normalizing disabilities and love and disabilities. And I watched that shit and I was like, okay, so he gets his sight back. So all the lessons he learned from losing his sight, all of the urgency of their relationship, all the conflict of their relationship, basically wiped that shit away because I got my sight back, bitch. I just couldn't continue with it. I couldn't continue with it. So those are the shows that I have absolutely dropped like a hot potato. There was one other show I dropped too that I started watching and I was like, fuck this shit. Oh, it's a show on Gaga Olala. The show, it's a Japanese show, and it's like at 2500 at Akasaka. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. I'm certain I'm saying it wrong. But anyway, I tried watching it, and it's a show about actor who hasn't been getting any jobs, and he went to college for acting, and one of the kids that he went to college with, who was just a model, went on to be like a huge model and a huge actor. Well, anyway, the guy who hasn't been able to get booked since he got out of college gets a job as the lead actor in A Boy's Love. And him and the actor he went to college with are both of the main leads, and he's having a really hard time connecting with his character because he's never had gay sex before. So he goes to a bar to find someone to have gay sex with him, and he runs into the other actor that he went to college with, and the guy's like, hey, instead of just having sex with any random guy here at the bar, why don't you have sex with me? I mean, I'm already your friend, I can walk you through things, and it'll also help you because if you have sex with me, then the emotions and the experience you had with me, you can put into your character when you and I are acting together. And so that's what they do. They have sex together and they act together. And I've watched several Japanese BLs, and I like to think that Japanese BLs are really good. The ones I've watched, for the most part, I really, really enjoyed them. But this one, I hated the main character who was the out of work actor. And what I hated about him is that I don't know if it's just because this person doesn't have a lot of range. I can't explain what it is, but I went online and I read the manga that the story is based on. The manga that the story is based on is an old manga, like from, I think, the year 2000. So it's a pretty old story. But in that manga, the actor who's been the out of work actor seems to have a lot more self-confidence, seems to be naive, yes, but not like stupid, just like a little bit, I wouldn't even say shy, just a little bit inexperienced, I would say. Whereas the character in the show is like stupid naive. But then when he goes to act, all of a sudden he does a great job, understands everything. But then Offset is like super shy, super introverted, can't take a joke, doesn't understand people around them. And I think that's the part that pissed me off the most about that show, is that this person is an actor. And on their audition for this role, they said, I have nothing in common with this character, but I will learn how to find commonalities with this character. And I remember thinking, why would you hire this person if they don't have any commonalities and they have to work to find commonalities in order to understand this character? They're telling you, unless I can find something in common with the character, I can't play the character. And I'm like, well, then you're a sucky actor, because there's a lot of times when people have to portray characters that are nothing like them. And, you either have to learn to understand what that kind of person is and operate from a viewpoint of through their eyes, or move the fuck on. Not every character is going to be a reflection of who you are. I mean, I fucking hope not, because sometimes people play really crappy people. Sometimes somebody like Stanley Tucci has to play a child rapist. And I would like to think that he doesn't find any commonalities with that character, but he's able to play that character because he's able to have insight into human beings and be like, okay, if I'm fleshing out who this person is, these are what I think their motivations are. These are what I think their reactions would be. This is the type of person I think they would be. This is how I think they would interact with other people. Being able to do that without having to go out and rape a child to get it done. You know, and to say I'm going to go out and have gay sex in order for me to be able to play a gay character, that's fucking wild. And I get that it's for the show. I'm not stupid. I know they have to have a way to like get the plot started. But it's like the guy who plays the out of work actor, he's just dumb. He's just dumb. He's so blank canvas anytime he's not playing the role he plays on the show, like on the show within the show. And he's just horrible to watch. Like, every scene with him, I'm just bored. I watched the show on 2x speed to try to get through it. And even then, I got to episode 6 and I'm like, I don't care about this show anymore. And the episodes are not long. The episodes are like 25 minutes apiece. But it was just fucking horrible. It was really, really horrible. I did not like it at all. So those are the shows that I could not finish during my break, even though I was desperately trying to keep up with them and get them finished, but I don't think I can. There's a couple other shows I'm wanting to start because they're shows that I've heard good things about. One of them is Wandy Good Day, which I believe is on YouTube on the GMM TV channel. I think there's another one on GMM TV I want to see. I think it's called like You're the Boss or I'm the Boss. Something with the word boss in it. I don't know. I'll catch up later. But yeah. And there's another show too that I'm trying to watch that I just only watched half of the first episode. So I haven't hardly watched any of it, but I've been watching a lot of stuff recently. But it's called Century of Love, and the first 15 minutes are fire, so I'm hoping that the rest of it will be good. I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at in terms of the did not finish, not sure if I'll start, but thinking about it. Now, for the ones I'm watching that are currently airing, I'm watching a show called Sunset Vibes. I'm watching a show called Our Love Has No Long Beans. That's literally the name of the show, is Our Love Has No Long Beans. This Love Has No Long Beans. Okay. And then I'm watching another show called Lovesy. So let me tell you about all three. So the first show, which is Sunset Vibes, this show has the same pairing from Big Dragon. So I don't know if any of you out there have watched Big Dragon. I finally finished Big Dragon. I started it a long time ago and never finished it. And then during my break, I finally watched it and finished it all the way. Big Dragon was a fucking mess. Like, don't get me wrong. It had some steamy scenes, if that's what you watch BL for. I actually do watch BL for plot. I know that's what everyone says, but I actually do watch BL for plot. It's a fucking mess. But I watched it in preparation for Sunset Vibes because it wasn't a really long series. I want to say it was like 8 episodes, which is pretty doable. And I also watched it at like 2x speed so I can like really get through it. But Big Dragon was this show about this guy whose dad runs a bar, and he is a business student at the college, and he's jealous of this guy who's an architecture student at the college. They're love rivals for some reason. And anyway, he attempts to drug the architecture student, and he ends up getting drugged himself, and the drug causes them to fall into bed together and have wild BDSM influenced sex. And then after that, for some reason, they become friends and then become lovers and then become like desperate soulmates for each other. I know, we're going super lightning fast on this plot line. But I watched it because the lead actors, Mosebank, they are really popular in BL circles, and I wanted to kind of see like what's their chemistry talking about for people to like them so much. Honestly, I really didn't get a lot of great acting vibes from Bank. He wasn't my favorite, but Moz, I really, really liked him. I did. I thought he had really good acting in terms of like the emotions read across his face. I don't know, I just found him really charming. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to give Sunset Vibes a chance. Sunset Vibes, Bank is a totally different character. So I don't know if maybe it's just the director's fault that things were like this, but in Sunset Vibe, his his character is so like, gosh, I don't even know how to put this. I want to say Goldilocks, but that's not what I'm thinking about. And it's not Mary Jane. It's like his character is super enthusiastic, super virginal, super like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous because I'm so fucking talented. I'm so fucking rich, but yet I have insecurity because what if being rich and talented and beautiful is not enough? You know? And then on the other side, we have Mose, and his character in Big Dragon was very kind of like, I'm the man, I got a big dick, everybody loves me, I'm so cool, I'm better than you. In this show, he's very much like, I'm so rich and so handsome, and everyone who dates me only uses me for my money and my riches and my handsomeness. And so I need to find someone who's pure of heart to give my heart to. And that's when he meets Bank on a dating app, and they don't have intimacy until I want to say maybe the 4th episode, which is cool. I dig it. But they're like, they're annoyingly sweet. Like, to the point that I'm just like, I'm really here to figure out when the drama begins. And what's keeping me with this show is that, one, it's filmed really nicely. Like, the lighting for the show is really nice. I appreciate that. And there have been some moments of cinematography there where I'm like, oh, this is really pretty. But also, the show is about Maz's character, who is, I think, the fated lover of Banks's character. Apparently Banks has been having nightmares about this mystery man every night until he turned 18, and then all of a sudden when him and Maz have sex later on, like in episode 4 or whatever, the nightmares come back and he almost kills himself by walking into a river. I know this sounds fucking wild, right? But then the other plot line going on is that Maz's family owns a jewelry making company. Like, they make diamond necklaces, rings, all this stuff. It's called Soul Jewelry, Soul, Soul Jewelry. And Bank is an intern there, and he is designing jewelry stuff and hoping that this will lead to a big career, because otherwise he has to go and run his father's hotel business. And he somehow or another does a design and is accused of plagiarism because another company trademarks the design like a day later after he's designed it. And so there's going to be some corporate espionage type stuff. It's probably not going to be super hardcore or anything, but I'm interested to see how it shakes out, because I think this one lady is the actual villain, because they've really kind of broadcasted that she's the actual villain. So I'm waiting to see, but I think this one lady is the actual villain. And if she is the actual villain, I just want to make sure I'm right. That's basically why I keep watching, because I just want to make sure I am right. Also, there is a secondary couple in the show that I want to see kind of what happens there. Right now, there hasn't been enough juice for me to say that they're gonna hook up. I mean, I feel like they are. I feel like they're broadcasting that it's going to be that way. And also, I think there's a GL couple in this as well, a girls love couple. But yeah, I'm hanging in there to see if it pans out. So those are the big things that I'm doing right now in terms of shows that I'm watching. Another show that I was telling you about that I'm currently watching, hasn't finished, is Lovesea. Lovesea is a show that has the same second couple. It has the main couple of Lovesea. I'm getting all screwed up here. The main couple of Lovesea is the secondary couple of Love in the Air. Love in the Air and Lovesea are both MAME stories, and we have a whole episode, me and Mason, about talking about MAME and how problematic she is. But the fact of the matter is, she is like a huge source of content for BL in Thailand, so it's kind of hard to avoid her, really. But anyway, Love in the Air is this show about these two different motorcycle racers and the university students they fall in love with and their relationships with these university students. And the first couple, I think it's just a matter of the university student is kind of naive and he's kind of aggressive, and eventually the naive one falls for the aggressive one and decides he's going to let him be his man. That's really all I can say about their plotline. The secondary couple, however, the reason I'm watching Lovesea is because the secondary couple got me interested because their story was fucked. It was very toxic. It was very much a Maine type situation. So the one motorcycle racer starts to fall for this other college student based on a one night stand they had. He's like, oh, the pussy was so good, I've got to have it again. But the problem is the guy that he had the one night stand with only has one night stands. He does not want to have a boyfriend because the last boyfriend he had basically set him up to be gang raped. Right. Like, I should have said trigger warning for all this. I apologize because I've been saying a lot of stuff that has not been great. So I apologize. Just know from here on out, there we are. So eventually the motorcycle rider is like, hey, I will find the guy who did this to you and I will punish him. Well, the guy who assaulted him ends up kidnapping him, beating him, and then the motorcyclist has to call in a favor from the mob and basically kill this guy. I know, it's fucking wild. So I watched Love in the Air, and I watched it for the plot. Again, I feel like one of those people that has to explain why they read Playboy. I watched it for the plot, and they had a lot of skintimacy in the show. But when they killed that guy, that made me feel so good. And it made me feel good because one of Mame's favorite things to do is to let the bad guy off the hook. I will never, ever forget Tharn Type, where the main character basically has a stalker who's their best friend, and they don't realize their best friend is in love with them, and their best friend gets their first boyfriend, like, gang raped, and films it to ruin their relationship. Horrible. And then attempts to do, I think, the same thing with the second boyfriend. Like, it's fucking wild. Tharn Type was wild. Another Mame story. And so I was like, if she lets this man off the hook for orchestrating all these sexual assaults, I'm going to be fucking rate. And no, he gets killed. So I was like, good job. Finally, we're learning our lessons here, Mame. So anyway, I really like the secondary couple. And this show, they are the main couple. It's called Lovesea. The story is about a novelist, great self-insert Mame, a novelist who goes to the sea to get inspiration, break his writer's block, and basically like relax. And he meets a fisherman who is also kind of like his tour guide while he's on vacation at this resort, and they start to have a sexual relationship, and then the fisherman really falls in love with the writer and is like, I want you to live here with me and I want us to be together. And the writer's like, listen, I can't live here. My life is in Bangkok because I'm a big writer and I'm rich and I'm powerful and I need to be at my house, my mansion. But I will pay you to move in with me and be my manservant, my lover. And so he moves to Bangkok to be with the writer. But the writer's got problems. First of all, the writer is like, yeah, I want to fuck you, but I really don't want to be boyfriends with you because I don't believe in love. And then also, apparently, the writer's mother married the writer's father, who the father was like a gigolo or something, and the mother was paying him to keep a relationship. And when the mother ran out of money, the father left. But now the father is back and is trying to get money from the writer, like just blackmail, menacing, whatever, to get money, and lots of money. Like at one point, the writer sends them 1 million baht, which I want to say 1 million baht is like close to $100,000, something like that. So a lot of money. But yeah, I'm waiting to see how the father story and the angry cousin story comes out. Oh, the writer also has an angry cousin. The cousin is related to the writer through the writer's mother, and everything that the writer does, the cousin does. And at one point, the cousin tried to set up the writer for throwing water at them, but they used CCTV to prove that that's not what happened. So anyway, I'm watching it for the plot. I feel like I should call this watching it for the plot because it's awful. I really am watching these stories for the plot. So I'm still watching Lovesea. I'm not done with that yet, but I'm still watching that. And then I am watching the show called This Love Has No Long Beans, which if you had not watched the very first episode, you'd have no idea where the title comes from, because it is a very weird sounding title. I mean, just even saying it, I'm like, I cannot believe I'm telling you this is the title of this show. But This Love Has No Long Beans is about a out of work actor slash model who is going broke and needs a job desperately. And they hear about this famous chef who has a basil stir fry restaurant. And the chef is like, if I can find someone who has $2 million and is a good enough chef, I will give them my restaurant in exchange for the $2 million. But whoever wins cannot be somebody who's getting their money from this evil developer, because the evil developer is just going to mow down my restaurant and put in a shopping complex here. So that's the plot of the show. And the out of work actor doesn't have cooking skills, but somehow or another ends up being one of the people who gets on the chef's radar to try to buy this restaurant. And you're like, well, if he's broke, how's he going to buy this restaurant if it's $2 million? It is because the evil developer is paying the poor out of work model actor to be a part of this competition. And if the model actor wins, he's going to get like, I think $200,000 personally, plus the developer is going to buy this property, mow it down, do the development. So on the one hand, he's lying to the chef because he's a double agent. But on the other hand, he actually really loves the chef food and has a real admiration for stir-fried basil, Thai stir-fried basil. And so that's the source of their love. Also, the restaurant is called Thai stir-fried basil with no long beans. That's the name of the restaurant. Thai stir-fry basil with no long beans. And that's why the show is called This Love Has No Long Beans. It's insane. It's really insane. So that is that. And then I'm going to tell you about, I think there's one more show. Oh, there's one more show I'm watching, which I really don't want to talk about because I don't know if I'm going to finish it. It's a show called We Are. It's another GMM TV show. I'm watching it on iQIYI. I finally figured out how to pronounce it. It's iQIYI. Anyway, the show is about college students. It is an art student, an engineering student, another art student and art student pairing, an engineering student and an architecture student, and another business student and an engineer. I don't know. There's 4 main couples on the show. Anyway, before I get too off target, this art student is about to turn in their final painting to a gallery as their like final senior project, I guess. And on the way walking to the gallery, a soccer ball flies into the painting, ruins it, makes it fall out of his hands on the ground. People start stepping on it. And so he goes up to the soccer player who kicked the ball at him, and the guy who kicked the ball is like, give me my fucking ball back. And he's like, you need to apologize because you have ruined my artwork. And he's like, fuck your artwork, give me my fucking ball back. And so anyway, he ends up kicking him in the nuts. The art student kicks the soccer player in the nuts. The soccer player is an engineering student, and he goes to the hospital, and because he's rich, he goes to like a fancy hospital and runs up a hospital bill that's like $2,000. And the art student's like, I cannot pay you $2,000 for your hospital bill. Or it's $20,000, something like that. I cannot pay you $20,000 for your hospital bill. However, I feel like we can work out a deal because you should have to pay me for the painting you ruined. And he's like, tell you what, you need to be my slave until you can finish your painting. And when you finish your painting, I will give you $20,000. How about that? So that's where we're at with them. As of episode 4, that's where we're at with them. And then another couple is just like, the one guy's in love with the other guy's brother. The other one, it's a mentor-mentee in the art facility. And the other one, I don't know what the basis of their love is. They've just always been in love with each other. So I'm watching that right now, which I don't know if I'm going to finish it because honestly, it's a slice of life, and it has a really fun friend group, which I love fun friend groups. That's one of my favorite type of BL tropes. But the story is like super basic, and it's a really tropey story that I feel like I've seen many times before and done better. Like, the part of the show that confuses me is that the guy who's the soccer player who gets kicked in the nuts is like, my hospital bill is $20,000. You need to be my slave until you finish repainting your art, and then I will give you $20,000. Like, does that make sense to y'all? Does that not sound weird to y'all? I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to finish it, but I'm going to try, because the actors are fun actors. I like their acting. It's GMMTV style acting, which, if you're not sure what that style is, GMMTV, if I had to describe it, it's like the Nickelodeon of BL, in that when they're doing comedy shows, they do them very, very broad. And so don't expect highly nuanced, sensitive acting. Expect, iCarly level acting, if you're going to expect something. Oh, another GMMTV show I'm watching. I cannot believe I didn't mention this. I'm also watching a GMMTV show called My Love Mix-Up. My Love Mix-Up is a remake of a Japanese BL show called My Love Mix-Up, which is based on a manga whose name I cannot remember. But I'm enjoying My Love Mix-Up. I really am. I think the actual book is called like Kita Hatsuki. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. Don't trust me. But I watched the Japanese My Love Mix-Up, which I really, really enjoyed. The guy who plays the main character in the Japanese version, so good. His love interest is okay. Like, I enjoy him. He's fine, but his character is very aloof. And so I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm super down with him, but he's a good foil because the main is so fucking zany. Like, his facial expressions are wonderful. He has like a trope of whenever he's really shy, he'll roll himself into a curtain or into a blanket. And I just really, really love that. If you haven't watched My Love Mix-Up, the Japanese version, it is on Viki currently. But I really, really like the Japanese show. And then when I found out that GMMTV was doing the remake, I found out they were doing the remake with Gemini and Fourth. And Gemini and Fourth are two actors that were in My School President. I really, really liked them in My School President. I thought they had really good chemistry together. They were very believable. I really like them. And so I'm like, okay, let's get it. Let's watch My Love Mix-Up. And I actually like the show. I don't dislike the show at all. But for some reason, Gemini and Fourth have no chemistry to me in this show. And it's wild because they were so good together in My School President. Like, really, really good. I really like them in My School President. In this show, I don't care for them as a couple at all. In fact, I'm really kind of hanging around just to see if homegirl gets her man, because there's a secondary couple in My Love Mix-Up. It's a girl and a boy, and the girl has a crush on this guy, and they don't ever get together in the Japanese version at all, but the Thai version seems like it's moving towards them getting together, which I really like that, because I thought they should have got together in the Japanese one. So I'm like, yes, we're gonna right the wrongs in the Thai version. So that is really what's keeping me going, I would say. But yeah, Gemini and Fourth, I think it's the direction that they're giving to Gemini. If I had to guess what it is that's off to me about the couple, I think that Gemini is trying to play aloof like how the love interest did in the Japanese version. But the problem is he's playing aloof to the point that you can't tell if he's even interested. Like, it's that aloof. And I don't like that. We need a little give and take here, fellas. A little bit. And even Fourth. Honestly, Fourth is supposedly so in love with this guy. But the switch is very like this. When they start, he has no feelings for this guy. And then by about, I would say, the end of episode 2, totally crushing on this guy. And then after that, he's like totally crushing on this guy and super, super likes him a whole bunch, but also is like totally scared of him. And so it's bizarre. It's bizarre. So I'm still watching that, but it's taxing. It's taking a toll on me. Okay, finally, let's talk about the shows that I finished, because I did finish a few shows. Well, I shouldn't say a few. I finished a couple of shows. But the shows I finished were, in my opinion, very, very good, but very problematic shows. Like, when I say red flags, I mean red fucking flags waving in the wind from the hilltop and down the hills. So the first show I want to talk to you about that I finished that is so problematic. It's a show called My Stand-In. I'm watching this one also on Ikiyi. And Ikiyi, by the way, is spelled Iqiyyi. The show is about a guy named Joe. And Joe is a stunt actor for movies in Thailand. And Joe is specifically the stunt actor for a really big movie star named Tong. And he is not super happy being this guy's stuntman, because this guy's kind of a jerk. Like, he's the kind of jerk where he does nice things and says nice things to people, but then also, like, is nice to get himself out of trouble. Like, he shows up late to the set, but he shows up with coffee for everybody. You know, that kind of thing. So Joe doesn't really like Tong, but it pays really well, so he does the job. And there's this girl that Tong, the movie star, is dating, who has a brother who is secretly in love with Tong. And the brother shows up to set one day, and he thinks he sees Tong in the distance, and goes up behind him and gives him a hug, and finds out that he's actually hugging Joe, the stand-in. And Joe is, like, kind of flushed and, you know, a little bit nervous, because, like, this cute guy just walked up to me and hugged me. Ooh. And eventually they start to have a conversation. They have a one-night stand. That one-night stand turns into a few night stands, and they start dating. But what he doesn't know is that this guy still sees him as a stand-in for Tong. So much so that the night that Tong tells him, "I'm going to propose to your sister," he goes home rip-roaring drunk and tells Joe in his drunken stupor, "Why doesn't Tong love me? Why do I have to only be left with his stand-in?" And of course, Joe is heartbroken, because at this point, Joe and this man live together. And it hurts to be living with and loving somebody who basically sees you as a filler in their life, right? So Joe's heartbroken. He is super heartbroken. And because of that, he's like, I am going to try to show him that I'm just as good as Tong. So the director of an upcoming movie is like, Tong doesn't want to do it because he wants to go on a honeymoon. I'm going to hire Joe to be the lead actor. And Joe's like, finally, I will be out of the shadows. I will be a main actor. I'll be just as good as Tong. Well, Tong is not happy with the fact that his stand-in is about to be a big movie star. So he calls his brother-in-law and says, hey, Joe is going to be acting in this new movie, and he's going to be acting with this other guy that you don't like, and I bet they're going to have an affair behind your back. And if you want to stop it from happening, you need to stop Joe from coming to the press conference where they're going to announce that he is the lead actor for this new movie. So what does the brother-in-law do? He hits Joe in the back of the head with a baseball bat. When that happened, I remember pausing the show and being like, what the fuck? Like, literally, an aluminum baseball bat hits him in the back of the head, knocks Joe out. Somehow or another, drags Joe down the stairs of Joe's apartment, takes Joe to his basement in his mansion, chains Joe to a couch, and is like, you can't leave. You belong to me. It doesn't matter if you're a stand-in or not. You belong to me, and you're not leaving me until I'm done with you. Somehow or another, Joe manages to, like, manipulate his way into freedom, and he leaves. But by the time he gets out the basement, the press conference has already happened. Tong shows up to the press conference at the last minute, and Joe is basically blackballed from the industry because he didn't show up to the press conference. So Joe is like, okay, I have never done anything else in my life besides being a stuntman. If I'm not a stuntman, I have no career. and I've been blackballed from the Thai movie industry. I've got to find some way to make money. So there's this production from Europe that comes to Thailand to film an action movie, and Joe decides to be a stand-in for this outfit. But the thing is that I guess when foreign companies come to Thailand, according to the show, when foreign companies come to Thailand, they don't have the same uh, safety protocols that Thai film sets have, and they're usually run by gangsters, according to the show. And so Joe, being the stunt guy for this, he ends up having a stunt crew who's not super careful, and they're supposed to put a safety rope on his back. And when he does this motorcycle stunt, he's supposed to fly off the motorcycle and the rope is supposed to catch him. The rope unlatches and Joe falls into a canyon to his death. Just tragic and sad. Horrible, right? Well, 2 years later to the day, Joe wakes up in a hospital bed. And he's like, oh my God, I thought I had fallen to my death. What the hell? Did I survive? This is amazing. Well, turns out Joe's spirit survived, but he is now in another man's body. There's a man who went into a coma the same day that Joe fell into the cliff, and that man's body has been in the hospital in this coma, and Joe wakes up in this man's body. And this man's mother has basically mortgaged her entire life to keep her son alive. And when Joe wakes up, he's like, number one, grateful to be alive, but two, grateful for this woman for every sacrifice she made in order to keep her son alive and how much love she had for her son. So he vows that he's going to take care of this woman because she basically gave him life, even if she wasn't his birth mother. By the way, both of his parents died when he was young, so he doesn't have any family to miss him or mourn for him. So when he gets out the hospital, he's like, well, I need to make money because my mom borrowed a lot of money from some gangsters and that needs to be paid back. The only way I know how to make money is to work in my old job as a stuntman, but obviously I'm in this new body. I don't have any experience as this new bodied person being a stuntman. Maybe I can just get a job like behind the scenes making money that way. So he does get a job working behind the scenes in the prop department, and things are going pretty good until the gangsters come and beat up the mom. And he's like, oh fuck, okay, I gotta go back to being a stuntman because the props department is a great job, but they just don't pay enough and I need money now. So he starts working as a stuntman. In addition to that, he's trying to get access to his money that he had in the bank before he died, because he had saved like half of the money his mom owed to the gangsters he had in the bank. And if he could just access that, he could pay the gangsters off. So Joe's working as a stunt person, doing light stunts. Things are going okay. And somehow or another, he runs into his old boyfriend, the brother-in-law. And the old boyfriend is like, you look super familiar. How do I know you? And he's like, you don't know me. Because he doesn't want to get involved with this guy anymore because this guy literally kidnapped him, ruined his life, basically caused his death, right? Well, somehow or another, this guy just will not stop following him, the new Joe. And to the point that Joe is filming a scene and this guy like runs up on him and hugs him in the middle of filming. It's pretty wild. Anyway, Joe's not making enough money as a stuntman, and he's not able to get access to his old bank account because he does not have an ID with his new face in order for him to access that bank account, right? So he tells the brother-in-law, listen, I know you want me, and you know, you're not going to leave me alone until I give you something. So how about you pay me 5 million baht, which I think is like, $500,000, something like that. Pay me money and I will be your boyfriend. The other reason why Joe decides to do this, because I totally skipped over it, but after the gangsters beat up his mother, the next week or so, his mother passes out at the house and he finds out his mother's kidneys are failing and she needs dialysis. So he needs dialysis money. He needs to pay back the gangsters. And so he's like, I will be your boyfriend if you give me the money to pay back the gangsters and to pay for my mother's dialysis and get her a better house. Because right now she's living in a shack along the river. So he's like, yes, I'll do all of that as long as you will be at my beck and call for a year. And so Joe is in this relationship that he really doesn't want to be in. But the brother-in-law who was the asshole that chained him up, he is a student of a shaman, and the shaman has been telling him for the last 2 years, Joe's not dead. Joe is between death and being alive. So he's not dead, but he's not alive. And so he believes that the Joe that he met, the new Joe, is actually the old Joe in the new Joe's body. But he can't prove it, and he needs some way to prove it. Anyway, he tells his brother about it, and he's like, oh, let me help you out. And so they end up finding the bones from old Joe. So they are able to confirm that old Joe is dead. And he tells new Joe, like, I'm going to take all of old Joe's stuff and I'm going to buy it and I'm going to burn it because Joe belonged to me. And if Joe's not around, I'm going to destroy everything that had to do with him. So new Joe is very resentful. He's very resentful, number one, because he had thought that maybe at some point he might be able to get back in his old body, but obviously that's not ever going to happen because they found his bones. But two, he's just like, you know, in life, you trapped me into being your stand-in and you basically stole my life from me. And now you're going to steal and destroy every remnant that I ever existed as a person. Like, he's pissed. Well, he gets angry and decides to go into his old apartment to steal some keepsakes in order to, like, not lose everything that made him Joe. Like, to not erase his entire existence. And when he sneaks into his old apartment, the brother-in-law shows up there and is like, ha, I knew you were the old Joe, because only the old Joe would know where I hid that photo of his parents. And so he professes to new Joe that when Joe never came home after being on the illegal movie set, that he basically maintained the apartment for 2 years, and every night would show up to that apartment and make dinner and wait for Joe to come home, because he never got to tell Joe that even though he had said that Joe was a stand-in, after they had their fight, he realized that Joe is who he loved all along. And he was just upset because he thought that he was in love with Tong, but he wasn't, and he always loved Joe. And Joe is like, okay, I love you back, and we're going to make this thing work. Which I was like, Joe, no. Joe, don't do this. Please, Joe, don't. Anyway, Tong, the asshole actor, he does something really stupid. He marries the guy's sister, and then he's like, decides to invest in a real estate venture to open a hotel in a reserved forest. It turns out to be a scam. He borrowed money from gangsters. He lost that money, and he needs his brother-in-law to give him money in order to pay these gangsters back, or they might kill him. And because he's mad that his brother-in-law won't give him the money, he decides to punish Joe to get back at his brother-in-law, to get his brother-in-law to give him the money. Which I'm like, how does that shit work? How does you threatening my boyfriend make me want to give you cash? That doesn't make sense to me. But he's like, if you don't give me cash, I'll tell your dad that you're gay, and your dad will take away all your money, your fortune, so you need to help me. Well, the brother-in-law's like, I'm not going to give you the money. I'm just going to tell my dad I'm gay. I don't fucking care. And Tong is like, damn it. No, I'm never going to get that fucking cash, and the gangsters are going to come kidnap me. So he tells the sister that he was going to marry, that he married, like, I don't want to be with you anymore, even though you're pregnant, I want a divorce, in order to get her out of the way, because the gangsters are coming to kidnap him. Well, Joe finds out that the sister is pregnant, and he doesn't want the child to grow up without parents like he did. So he decides to stand in as Tong and let the gangsters kidnap him. The gangsters kidnap him, and they're going to execute him, and all of a sudden the police show up before he can be executed. Well, as they're running away from the gangsters when the police show up, one of the gangsters shoots Joe in the chest, and Joe is in the hospital, and Joe is about to die again for a second time. And right before the afterlife, the shaman shows up and is like, Joe, you can decide. You either go back to being new Joe and live in that body and choose that path, or you can walk through the infinity door and hope to be reincarnated as somebody else. What do you want to do? And Joe decides to stay as new Joe and be in love with the brother-in-law, and that's what he does. And Tong, who basically got Joe killed twice, Do you know what his punishment was? A healing marriage, a loving wife, a new child, and his family restored. I was so mad at this fucking show. This show made me so bad. I was like, Joe! And honestly, if I didn't love the actor who played Joe, I could not have finished this show. The guy who plays Joe is a fairly new actor. I think his name is Foom. Anyway, I follow him on Instagram. He's super duper hot, by the way. Like, really hot. Like, he doesn't have like the super carved abs that like a lot of K-pop idols and stuff have, but he's just like built in a sturdy way, which I really like. And he has this sweet baby face that I also really like. So yeah, I'm rooting for you, Joe. I'm rooting for you. Can do it, Joe. You can do it, Joe. Anyway, I really like Joe. So my stand-in, I really enjoyed that show. Very, very toxic, like I said, like kidnapping, abuse, emotional abuse. Like, shit's wild. Shit's really wild. So yeah, if you want to watch it, but just know shit's wild. It's real abusive shit. Real abusive. And then the other show that I watched that is side tangent. Why does everyone have to be fucking related, Taiwan? I mean this with my whole fucking heart. I've watched several BLs from Taiwan, and Taiwan consistently has shows where half brothers and step brothers fall in love. And I just don't understand it. Me and Mason talked about this on 2 different history shows, actually. So if you go to Mason's channel, there's one history season where it was a volleyball history season. I think it was history 2, Crossing the Line. We did a review for that. And there was a secondary couple that were, I believe, half brothers that fall in love and start fucking, which is crazy. And then there is History 5, which I don't remember the name of it. It's just History 5 something. Anyway, this guy and his stepbrother end up falling in love after the stepbrother rapes him, basically. Oh God. Anyway, a lot of Taiwanese brother love stuff goes on. I want to say 2 brothers fall in love in Because of You 2020 too. God damn, what? Anyway, I digressed. I've severely digressed. The show I want to talk about today is a show called Unknown. It is on Viki. It is a Taiwanese show, and the show is heart-wrenching. It's so good, but it's heart-wrenching, and it has to do with brother love, but I guess the good news is it's found family brother love, if that helps anybody. Okay, so this kid grows up with a mother who is a junkie, and she is verbally abusive, she is mentally abusive, she's physically abusive, she might even be sexually abusive, we don't know. And she dies when he's a young teenager, and so he looks for the local gangster because he was told, if I work for the local gangster, I'll never starve. And so the local gangster starts him out working in the pool hall, basically cleaning the pool cues, cleaning the bathroom, sweeping, mopping, sanding the pool sticks, that kind of thing. And one night he's walking home from the pool hall, and there's a little boy sleeping in the alley. No blanket, shorts, a t-shirt, and a stick laying on a cardboard box. And he's so hurt by the fact that this little boy is sleeping in the alley that he throws this little boy a steam bun. And night after night, on his way home from the pool hall, he would leave food for the little boy. And then one night he's walking home from the pool hall and he sees the little boy sleeping on a piece of cardboard with nothing but newspaper covering him. I guess this is winter now. And he feels sorry for the little boy, so he takes off his hoodie and puts it over the little boy to cover his body. Well, after that, the little boy starts to really trust him, and one night follows him home. And when he follows him home, the teenager has a little sister, and she's like, can we please adopt him because he's, homeless. Look at him. He's dirty. He's hungry. He needs a home. So he's like, fuck. I cannot leave this little boy on the streets. That would be evil. And I cannot let him starve. So, yes, you can move in with me and my sister. But how can I feed 2 kids plus myself? So he goes back to the gangsters like, I need more money. And the gangster's like, okay, I can give you more money if you want to do something different in my organization, because I can't pay you more money for working at the pool hall, but I could use some enforcers. And so if you're willing to like get in fights and shit, I can find you a job. So that's exactly what he does. He ends up becoming an enforcer for the gang. So older brother, younger brother, and sister, we're going to call them, that's the trio right there. So older brother becomes an enforcer for the gang, and he uses the money to send his brother and his sister to school and to pay for their household and try to provide them with a life. Well, as he gets closer to like the end of his high school years, he's like, I have started figuring out how to make money without being a gangster, and I got beat up real bad previously, and I just don't want to die before I can provide for my sister and my found little brother, because when my mom died, I struggled to feed us. And if I die, I don't want my brother and my sister to have to revert to the gangster life, especially my sister. I don't want her walking the streets or anything like that. So he asked the gang if he can leave. And the gang leader's like, okay, you can go. Don't worry about it. Well, one of the other gangsters in the group, one of the underling gangsters, like, that's not fair. You shouldn't let him just leave with no accountability. So he kidnaps the little brother and says, if you want to leave the gang and you want to free your little brother, you need to let us cut off one of your fingers. And the big gangster is like, no, we're not going to make anybody cut off fingers here. That's not what we're going to do. Instead, I want you to fight 3 boxing matches, back to back to back. If you win all 3 boxing matches, not only will I let you go and let your little brother go, but I will give you your share of the betting pool for these boxing matches. So he's like, okay, fine, got it. I will do the boxing matches because I need to make my brother free and I need to be free. So he does the boxing matches, but in the course of doing the boxing matches, his head gets cracked. He doesn't die, but he does experience lingering brain trauma from this incident. So anyway, that gets him out the gang, but the police end up getting called. And so that puts him on the radar of the gang. And so there's still a little iffiness there. He uses the money to help him go to school, and he eventually graduates college, and he starts a gaming company with a couple of people that he's friends with. And they start this gaming company, and things are going okay. Also, his brother and sister are flourishing. They're doing really, really well in school. His brother's also studying gaming and is helping him out with his company, and things are really nice. But the younger brother has romantic feelings for the older brother. And the older brother does not know it initially. All he knows is that his younger brother has started reading BL novels. And so he goes to his younger brother and is like, hey, I can't help but notice you've been reading books about boys kissing boys. Are you gay? And he's like, yeah, I don't really care about gender, but the person I like is a man. And he's like, oh, fuck, okay, listen, are you sure about this? Because, not that I'm upset with you or anything, but I'm just saying, like, this is hard. Because what if the guy that you like doesn't like you back? And, it's going to make your life difficult if he doesn't like you. You don't want to put pressure on people with this sort of thing. Chillax. And he's like, listen, I really don't care if the guy I likes me back. I just want to be around him. That's all I care about, is just keep me around, let me be near him, because I just care about him that much. Well, the older brother is looking for funding for his gaming company because one of his investors pulls out, and like the company is really strapped for money when this happens. And this lady who was a fan of him when he was doing gaming streaming is like, I'll invest in your company. And he tells her, like, Okay, cool. I'm glad that you're willing to invest. I hope that you're investing because you think the company is valuable, not because you want to date me. Well, one of the other of the three founders of this company tells the younger brother, oh, those two are going to date. You're going to have a new sister-in-law. And of course, the younger brother is devastated because he has a secret love for his older brother. So he gets drunk at the signing ceremony and then confesses to his brother, the man that I love is not a classmate. The man that I love is you. And his older brother is horrified. And he's horrified because, number one, he's already been having a tough time dealing with the fact that his younger brother is gay. Like, that's a hard thing to accept. But then to have your younger brother not only confess that they're in love with you, but then attempt to kiss you while intoxicated and confessing their love. He's just like, no, I can't handle this. So he's like, I saved up some money. I'm going to give you this money. I want you to go to the United States and study and go to school there because I really cannot handle this right now. So for 4 years, the younger brother is in America. The older brother is in Taiwan. And over the course of the 4 years, he starts to really miss his younger brother. And he starts to feel like the house is empty because the little sister graduates high school. She's also in college, living her adult life. She's not in the house all the time. She's in the dorm. So, like, he misses his family. And he realizes that, maybe if I can bring my younger brother back, we can talk and he can understand that, the relationship part in terms of romantic is not going to happen, but I will always be his brother and I really want him back as my brother. So the younger brother comes home and he basically tells him, like, listen, I still am in love with you. Nothing has changed in that respect, but I will move at your pace. I won't pressure you. I just don't ever want you to send me away again. Please don't ever send me away again. He's like, all right, I'm not going to do that. Well, one day he's cleaning the younger brother's room, the older brother is, and he comes across a box, and inside the box is a napkin with a handwritten note on it, basically saying, I just want you to know that I love you. You're the love of my life. I carry the secret desire for you, and I cannot let me die without letting you know you're the most important thing for me. And he asks the younger brother about this note. He's like, what is this about? And the younger brother says, when I was in the United States, I was hiking with a hiking group. And when we were hiking together through like a snowy mountain, there was an avalanche and our team got buried under the snow. And there was a while there where we thought that we were not going to survive. And so all I had was a napkin and a pen, and I wrote my last kind of dying message because I felt like if for some reason I die here and they find my body, I wanted to make sure you knew until the very end of my life I loved you. And I never stopped loving you. And the older brother was like, damn it, I don't know how I feel about that. On the one hand, I am devastated that because while you were in the United States, I wasn't keeping in contact with you because I was trying to create distance. I'm devastated that there was a period in time where I could have lost you and all I would have had left was this note. Like, that to me, devastating. But also, I don't think I took your feelings as seriously as maybe I should have for the fact that you were going to use your dying moments to profess your romantic love for me. Like, that's shocking to me. And finally, he is asked the question by the younger brother, do you not want me because you don't want me, like, or because you don't dare to want me? Like, is it just that, like, the taboo of the fact that you raised me makes you not want to be intimate with me, even though we are not blood siblings? And I've expressed over several years in multiple ways, I am in love with you. You are the only person I will ever love in my entire life. So the older brother is talking with his best friend, and his best friend's like, listen, I'm fucking your sister, number one. That's a fight. But two, I was the one who told you to send him to the United States before because I didn't think that this was like real love. I too thought maybe this is like, him just being weird and gay, but no, he actually is in love with you. And, you know, since y'all are not blood brothers, if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. I mean, I am fucking your sister and I helped you raise her, so both of us are deciding to be with people that we have known since they were children. And the older brother is kind of like, I don't know. Finally, he's like, okay, I don't want you to leave. I do have romantic feelings for you. I'm just scared that if I work on these romantic feelings, that I will drive you away once you realize this is wrong. And he's like, trust me, I'm never going to think this is wrong. I'm always going to think this is right. I'm always going to want you. So they have sex together and they are being romantic together and things are good. Things are pretty good. But then the older brother is having these weird symptoms from when he got in that fight as a boxer, and his nose is just bleeding randomly for no reason, and he finds out that he had a brain clot that had been pressing on his orbital nerve, optic nerve, and he got in a fight with the gangster later on in the story. I don't know why I didn't include it when I was giving the synopsis, but he got in a fight with the gangster later on in the story, and it kind of shifted the blood clot, and things were getting worse, and he was in danger of losing his sight. And the doctor's like, you need to have a surgery to get this clot removed. I can't guarantee this is going to fix it, but better to get this thing out of here than to have the blood clot move somewhere where it can cause a stroke, something else. So he's scared because he's afraid that if he dies during the surgery, that he will have left his family unmoored the same way his mother's death left him unmoored. And so he doesn't know if he can do it. He's scared. And the younger brother's like, listen, I love you, and you know, you need to understand that if this blood clot kills you, I'm going to forever be upset that you never took a chance to take this surgery that could have saved your life. But at the same time, you know, if for some reason the surgery goes bad and you're disabled by it or something else happens, I love you enough to always be by your side. If you lose your sight, I'll be there to be your guide dog. If you find yourself to where you can't work, I make money, it'll be fine. So they kiss, make up. He has the surgery, he survives the surgery, and they're just a happy family moving forward. And that's the basic plot line. That's most of the plot line. I've basically told you the whole show. But what I liked about this show is that the older brother, for all of the, I don't know, for all of the self-sacrificing that he is, I got him. I got him on a fundamental level. I've never had to deal with somebody that I raised trying to have romantic feelings towards me because ew, yuck, bleh. But I got him in terms of like, he was so damaged by his upbringing, by someone who was so emotionally, physically, mentally abusive, that he just did everything he could to not be that person. And I understand that. My mother is a saint. So, not because of my mother, but my stepfather who raised me. He was volatile. He was super narcissistic, and, you know, he could be mentally and physically abusive at times. You know, most black people grow up in a family where a whooping is not a strange thing to encounter. And I know that when I was having my own child, I was like, I am making a vow to myself that I will not be the parent that he was. If I do anything else, I won't be the kind of parent that he was. And so I understand him being so frightened of being his mother, especially because even though they don't spell it out, there's a couple of scenes with the child actor and the actress who plays the mother that very much intimates that there may have been some sexual abuse in that relationship. And so with his younger brother saying, I want to be with you, if that sexual abuse did occur, I could see him being like, I don't want to touch you because my mother did this to me and it was harmful, and I don't want to harm you by doing the same thing to you. And so I just felt like it was a very well-rounded character portrayal. I totally got that. The younger brother, I don't think they did as good a job with his character. I think his character was pretty one note, pretty like, you know, I just love you and I don't care about anything in life but being with you. And it's funny too because the character became that as the character got older, but like they had different actors throughout the show as actors went from children to teenagers to adults. And the teenager actor for that role did a really good job of being like a real teenager and bickering with the sister and stuff like that. The actor as an adult was just like one track mind, like did not give a fuck about his sister, was like, my sister is gonna be with that man over there, we don't have to take care of her, it's all about me and you, big brother. And I just was like, I wish that they had given him more depth, if they had given him less kind of single-mindedness. But I still thought he was a good actor. I think he was a good actor. They just didn't write the character very deep, but I still enjoyed his portrayal very much. He's also very handsome. Both the actors in that show are very hot. Like that little actor who plays the older brother, he's hot. Oh my gosh. First of all, just body, wow. But also the cutest little face. And then he puts on his little glasses and he's so cute and he's so little. It's so cute. Anyway, yeah, so there's that. So those are the two shows that I finished that I was like, wow, I'm back in the fold, guys. I'm back to watching BL again. Like, it's just so good. But yeah, that is me talking about BL. And if you like BL and like these shows, I'm glad I got a chance to talk to you about them, talk with you about them. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I finished that I'm not talking about that I finished. No, I can't think of anything else that I finished that I haven't talked about. I even talked about Big Dragon at one point, and that was one of the ones I finished. So I think I'm pretty caught up with kind of where I am now. I'm going to be watching 2 more Taiwanese shows. I'm going to be watching My Tooth, Your Love, which I never did watch. And I'm also going to watch We Best Love. Is that what it's called? Is it called We Best Love In-House? We Love In-House? I don't know. It's got a weird title. It's like Best Love In-House. I don't know. I can't even tell you the title. I'm sure if I watch it, I'll remember it. But it's like We Best Love In-House I Do. I don't know. I can't keep up. I kind of want to watch Plus and Minus. I also kind of want to watch Vice Versa. I also kind of want to watch a couple other Taiwanese shows that are on Viki. I've watched most of the Taiwanese shows that are on Viki, honestly. So there's not many left on Viki for me to watch, but I've been thinking about that. And then, I don't know, I'm trying to find a place, because I still haven't found a way to watch I Feel You Linger in the Air. That is the main one that I really do want to see, but I just haven't found a way to watch it because the app, the Youku app, I think, is where you can watch it. And I don't think that that's available in the US. At least the last time I tried to download it, I couldn't. It was like regionally unavailable. So I Feel You Linger in the Air is like the main one I really want to watch for Thailand. And then I'm not really hearing as much good stuff about Korean BLs as I used to. Definitely the Korean BLs have gotten less shy about the kisses, which I love that, because before, like the first BL I ever watched for Korea, the kiss was so... No, actually, I'm lying. The very first BL I ever watched in Korea had no kiss at all. And you would have been hard-pressed to tell somebody it was a BL. It was that standoffish. Then the second one I watched that actually had a kiss, the kiss was fucking lame. And then slowly but surely things have gotten better. But yeah, a lot of the Korean BLs have not been doing it for your girl. But there's one I want to finish because I started it a long time ago and then stopped it because it was breaking my heart. To My Star 2. To My Star, the first season, me and Mason talked about it, and I said it is one of my favorite Korean BLs I had watched up to that point. I think probably 8th Sense might be one of my favorites so far. But yeah, To My Star basically is an AO3 fan fiction brought to life. It is about this K-drama actor who gets into a controversy and has to take some time out from show business to kind of rehab his image, and he ends up staying at a condo that he owns that he's also renting out to a chef. Him and the chef have to become roommates, and they fall in love, and it's really nice. And then he gets his reputation back because it turns out he was set up, he was framed. So I love that show. Well, To My Star 2 starts with the chef and the actor breaking up, which broke my heart because I loved To My Star 1, and I don't understand why they broke up. I am on episode 4 at this point. No, maybe episode 5. I still don't know why they fucking broke up. Like, it is so frustrating watching the show, caring so much about these characters, and just being left in the absolute dark. I don't know why they broke up. I don't know why they broke up. And so, yeah. I'm trying. I have a feeling that the reason why they broke up is because someone got video of the chef and the actor being gay together, because nothing else makes sense. And the chef is like being super cold and like non-responsive and won't answer any questions, won't give any reason why he just packed his shit one day and left. And that makes me feel like it's some self-sacrificing bullshit. And I just wish they would go ahead and tell it so that I can see how they resolve it instead of keeping it this big fucking secret. It's really pissing me off. Really, truly pissing me off. But other than that, like, yeah, I'm just enjoying the world of BL again. If you have any recommendation for BL shows that you would like me to watch that you think I haven't watched yet, please let me know in the comments. Also, I'm looking forward to the second season of Heartstopper. I'm on the last book of the actual, I was gonna say manga. That's not it. I think it was like a webtoon that then got turned into books. I hope I'm saying it right. Anyway, I've been reading the books from my local library. I'm on the very last book, Heartstopper number 5. And I guess I could talk about that since we're here anyway, because, you know, I like to spoil shit for people. I just got through Heartstopper number 4. I haven't read number 5, but number 5 is the last of the series, the Heartstopper series, not including other stories in that universe, just the last of that original canon set. But Heartstopper number 4, which is going to be a big part of season 2, is gutting. Oh my god. Okay, so Heartstopper season 1, Charlie and Nick falling in love, things are cute, people are questioning their sexuality, people are confirming their identities, so on and so forth. Season 2 starts with Charlie kind of wanting to confess love to Nick. Great, good for them. Season 2 is going to have a lot to do with Charlie and his mental health. And from what I read in number 4, the mental health aspect of the story is going to be super intense. Like, really intense. And I did not see this story going that way. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not that Heartstopper has been shallow or anything like that. Like, yes, the very first season, super fluffy. And I keep saying season 1 and season 2. This is season 3 coming up. Isn't it season 3? You know what? Just never mind. Leave me to die in my hole. Anyway, the very first part of I can't even talk. The very first part of Heartstopper was kind of fluffy. Like, there were some bullying aspects, some stuff like that. So it wasn't like always completely 100% fluffy, but it was pretty fluffy compared to kind of where it went in season 2. Season 3, I don't think there's going to be any fluff. Also, one thing I have to say after reading the Heartstopper books, I don't know if it's just because of the fact that the Heartstopper books are graphic novels and therefore, you know, the author really has to kind of concentrate on the main characters because it's just too much to try to draw the worlds of everybody else. But a lot of the story for Tara and Darcy and some of the other characters is not really as fleshed out in the novel as they are in the show. And I really appreciate what a great job they've done fleshing out the secondary characters in the show. Like, to me, I think I would recommend the show over the book. To be quite honest, I still think the book is valuable on an artistic level, absolutely. And I think that for somebody who maybe is not as much of a book person, but wanting to start reading, I think that the Heartstopper novels are a great start because they are very fast to read. Like, they're on the e-library app that I use, they're like 380 pages. But when I go to where it shows me how long it took me to read it, usually I finish one in 35 minutes. Like, it's that quick. So there's value in reading it, absolutely. But I just can't help but think that the show is better. And I think the show is better because the show just does more. Especially the way that the show handles the older brother for Nick. The way that the show kind of handles the whole Tara and Darcy and Darcy's family situation, and the whole situation with like Tara being bullied about coming out. Like, it's just approached in a better way, I think, on the show. I think the only thing that I dislike about the TV show that differs from the novel is that there's a third sibling in Charlie's family that is not a part of the show at all, I don't believe. But yeah, Heartstopper, real good stuff. So season 3, I think, is what we're looking forward to. I said season 2, but I think it's season 3 we're looking forward to. And yeah, it's going to get heavy. I think this is going to be the last season. If I had to guess, because season 3 starts where book 4 starts, I have to believe that this is going to be the last season. I don't see them dragging out book 4 for an entire season unless they really add on to the secondary characters in a way that we have not seen. That's the only thing that can make it like more drawn out, and it would have to be really drawn out. Like, we'd have to see hardly any of Nick and Charlie in this coming season. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, this has been a very long video. Thank you guys for your patience. And again, sorry I couldn't go live. It just wasn't an option. And I know a lot of you are not here for the BL content, but if you stayed and listened to any of this, if I helped you to mop your floors, or if I helped you to get through a puzzle you're putting together, thank you for giving me your time. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.